Every business has a logo, and when it's yours, it matters. GPS is a 30-year local Las Vegas company that produces custom merch, like hats and apparel, drinkware and totes, blankets and bandanas, really any kind of swag you can imagine that features your logo or message. They're experts at finding or creating the right products for the season and the reason that fit your budget and timeline. Check out the GPS website at gpslasvegas.com, where there's a world of products to promote your brand.
The general election for mayor of Las Vegas, well, it's come down to two candidates, and voters say homelessness in the city is a top issue. Yesterday on our podcast, we spoke with former Congresswoman Shelley Berkley about her approach. Now it's her opponent, Victoria Seaman's turn. Today on CityCast Las Vegas, it's part 2 of our mayoral interviews with a series of focus questions about homelessness. We pose those to Councilwoman Seaman, but we also talk about her policies, specific challenges, and what she would prioritize as homelessness, well, just keeps growing in our community. It's Tuesday, October 22nd. I'm Dayvid Figler, and here's what Las Vegas is talking about. Good morning, CityCast Las Vegas listeners. Hey, before we dive into today's episode, I want to take a moment to welcome any new folks joining us. I'm a hey howdy guy, so hey howdy. I also want to let you know about our mission here at CityCast Las Vegas. See, every day we aim to bring you the most compelling stories, the most interesting people, and the best insider recommendations to help you make the most of the city and maybe also help make it a little better too. Now, with our fall campaign happening this week, it's a great time to talk about how we make all of this happen. Producing a daily podcast and a newsletter dedicated to Las Vegas, well, that is no small feat, and it does take a lot of hard work. Behind the scenes, we're doing research, interviews, editing, you name it. And here's the truth, none of it would be possible without support from our members. And here's a little bonus. If you become a member during our fall campaign, you'll get an exclusive CityCast Las Vegas tote bag as a thank you. It's a great way to show your support for local journalism, but also carry around a piece of the show you love. So if you've ever gotten something valuable from CityCast Las Vegas, whether it's a fresh perspective on a local issue, the perfect weekend recommendation, or vital information about candidates and ballot questions like we're doing this week, I'm asking you to consider becoming a member today. Your support helps keep the show going and allows us to grow and evolve so we can keep serving you. It really does mean the world to us. You can join right now by heading to membership.citycast.fm. That's membership.citycast.fm. Thank you so much to all our current members. And if you're thinking about joining, well, we'd love to have you on board. Now, let's jump into our interview with mayoral candidate Victoria Seaman. Councilwoman Victoria Seaman, welcome back to CityCast Las Vegas.
Well, good to be here.
I'm going to start this way. Both you and your opponent have essentially called our homelessness a humanitarian issue in one sense or another.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And that is borne out by one terrifying statistic that I want to mention. This summer, 342 people in our county died from the heat. And actually, that number has recently been upgraded to an even higher number. Whatever the city was doing this summer specifically seems to have fallen a little short. So the question is, what can you as mayor do differently next summer to specifically keep that number of people exposed and dying from the heat down?
So first of all, we have to talk about homelessness doesn't have boundaries. So when you talk about a city problem, county problem, it's all of a Southern Nevada problem. And we're the only municipality currently that has a shelter. We are the only current municipality that has the camping ban, which is a tool that we use with our MORE teams to try to get people into services. What we're seeing out there is mental health and addiction problem. I've gone out in the tunnels twice, recently with Shine a Light, and they've gotten about 400 people last year into services and off the street. So what we're not talking about is how we're trying to help people and the numbers that we've gotten help for. I recently spoke to our neighborhood services that said that Nevada Health, since we've supported them with over $26 million on the courtyard, have referred out 3,700 people into services, whether it be recovery or another problem. And I think that's what we need to concentrate on, because without having boundaries, a lot of it falls on the city. We can't have one shelter and one municipality working on this. We need the state to come in like they are and working on all the issues together collaboratively.
I appreciate all that, certainly. But, with regard to this summer, Las Vegas gets hot, but it's been hotter than ever. And that number shocked me. And now that it's over 400 people who died on the streets of the heat, many who were unhoused, looking back at this past summer, was there anything that the city could have done better or do better next year to keep that specific number of heat-related deaths down?
Well, I think the first thing that we have to look at is that we have this problem that you've brought to us. That we've had 400 people that died of the heat. So definitely there are things that we have to work on now that we know the number, now that we know what's happening. I can even talk to you about, why is it getting hotter? Is it because we're taking out all the foliage? Is it because we're taking out all the grass and we're creating all these heat islands? Things that I'm working on with capillary flow in trying to bring to Howard Hughes and the city a way that we can put grass in and have 42% less, using less water than our most advanced technology now. We have to look at everything that we can do, because this past summer was a most unusual heat wave. And we have to understand why this is happening and if there's something we can do on a greater level and help the people who are on the street, because no one should be out in the heat suffering with this type of heat wave.
You mentioned the MORE team, and I want to get into that. There are 83 square miles that make up the city of Las Vegas, but as I understand it, there's only 5 MORE teams. The MORE teams are basically a combination of law enforcement, social workers, others who are dispatched to go out to where there are encampments. They don't work overnight. They don't have the capacity to immediately respond to calls, but they seem to focus only on encampments that linger. How will you make the MORE team, more?
Okay, so first of all, our MORE teams should be working 24/7. We should have more teams that are doing it. We have contracted with Vegas Stronger now that's also doing that. And our MORE teams are not the law enforcement. We still have marshals that are doing this as well. So, and I believe we've just expanded the MORE teams. I don't have the number in front of me, but it is important that we be able to call our MORE teams at all hours. And they don't just go out to encampments, because I have personally had my teams call them when I get calls, and they'll go out for someone who is just camping out by themselves, or that they're sitting in front of a business that has called us. And what the purpose is to help us get them help. We can't force them. They don't want help because they don't want to give up the addiction, the drugs. And that is our biggest fight. And we have to make sure that we can come up with sound solutions to make sure that we can get people the help that they need.
Okay, switching gears. In the 2023 Nevada legislature, a number of bills were passed which would have lowered barriers to getting new housing, like limits on application fee schemes. There were also bills passed to keep rents reasonable for seniors only by capping the percentages of increases in rent, not rent caps, but percentage increases for seniors, and also a law reforming Nevada's only in the nation approach to summary evictions. Now, Governor Lombardo vetoed all those bills. It's fairly undeniable that many people experiencing homelessness, especially for the first time, would not have lost the ability to be housed if some of those laws had been passed. So I guess the first question is, do you agree with Governor Lombardo's veto of these specific access to housing bills?
So I don't have all the bills in front of me and I'm not reading the fine print, but what I can tell you is I don't agree with rent control. I came from California. I lived near Santa Monica, and having rent control all those years in Santa Monica left us with dilapidated buildings, and it did not work. It did not work because when you so I
It wasn't a
agree.
rent. I'm sorry to interrupt. It wasn't a rent control bill. It was the one that I'm speaking of. And there was three bills, but the one that I think you're picking up on, it was a bill that for seniors only, that the landlords couldn't increase, when the lease was up over a certain percentage. They could still raise the rents,
Right, right,
but they just couldn't raise it so much on seniors because seniors, are on a fixed income.
yes, but anytime that you are dealing with rent and how percentage, it doesn't matter, it is a rent control. And so what we've done at the city to help our seniors is do affordable mixed use housing or just affordable housing. We've gotten some land. We just broke ground. Ovations, we were the contractor, 55 and older, senior housing. We're doing another one in Ward 4. These are the properties that are made for senior housing, and they have a 60 AMI, or it could be even less, or a mixed use. I think that's what we need to concentrate on. But to take someone and now tell them their ability to have some sort of rent control, I think in the long run works against us. And they might not rent to seniors. And then you're looking at other, where we're displacing them in another way. I think that it's important for us as a city and a county and a state to really look at getting our Bureau of Land Management. I don't like to use acronyms because nobody knows what I'm talking about. But the BLM land, and get that land, annex it into the city or annex it into the county, and make it specific with the builders with incentives to do a senior housing, to make sure that we're taking care of our seniors. But when you start whatever kind of rent control it is, a percentage or this or that, in the long run, I don't think it works out. We need workforce housing. We need affordable housing. And we are really doing a great job of getting grants. We got one out of 7 cities that got a $50 million grant to turn Marble Manor from a 200 unit to a 600 unit. It's a mixed use. It's subsidized. It's 60% AMI. It's 80% AMI. And I'm really excited about that. And we need to continue to work with our lobbyists in DC and make sure that we're getting 88% of our land in Southern Nevada is BLM. And we need to get that and take care of our people and do the workforce housing and do the affordable housing.
I want to just ask a follow-up on the BLM stuff, just real quickly. Mm-hmm. The BLM land is essentially outskirt desert land. Are you suggesting that that's where seniors and people who can't afford housing now should be placed, where there now are no infrastructure, there is no closeness to like medical facilities and things of that nature?
Well, I think you're absolutely wrong. We have little pockets of infills that are BLM. We have some in Ward 2. We have quite a few of them. But so any part, and we are growing in Ward 4 and Ward 6, where you can annex BLM right where there are facilities, right off the freeway. All of that is BLM. So there are medical facilities there, and we're a growing city, and we're continuing to grow. And so, no, I'm not suggesting that they're out where there are no services. We are building and we are growing right up to the outer limits of BLM land.
Bipartisan, there is an assessment that Las Vegas right now is suffering from an eviction crisis, that there have never been any more evictions than we have now, and that certainly there is a connection between people being evicted and the rise that we're seeing in homelessness. What will you do as mayor to reduce the evictions, if anything, that are occurring in our community?
Well, as a city that's done all through NRS statutes. But what I will do is continue to do what I just told you. I am going to continue to get give tax increment financing, and everything that we can do through our state and federal grants that we have. We have so much opportunity to work with builders, to give them incentives to build this workforce and affordable housing. And those people who are getting evicted will have a place to live. And again, I'm going to also see about working with Liberty Wellness with the city, as well as them working with the county, so that we can be proactive with those people and build that transitional housing that they will need to get into maybe an affordable housing as we build them, and a workforce housing. But the key right now is to continue and offer those and keep building. We have 4 projects that we're working on in the city right now, and we're going to continue to do that.
The city has invested a lot of money and resources in the courtyard, which is described by some officials as a shelter, but it needs to be said it is currently an outdoor facility with no walls. Some people do seem reluctant. In fact, many people seem reluctant to go to this facility, even though they're unhoused, because they say the services and the providers are inconsistent, and that new third-party providers and management come in and go and come and go. And since they aren't required to collaborate with other providers, some established service providers who have provided services in the past have literally been banned. So how do you ensure that what services are supported there at the courtyard are consistent and accountable to be productive?
Well, first of all, I just gave you the numbers on, we brought in Nevada Health, and that was more of a physical medicine. And now we have a second floor where we're bringing in mental health. And I think that's going to be a game changer. But from January until now, they have referred 3,700 people into services, whether it's addiction. That's what we've done there. So yes, the corridor isn't a place of transitional housing. It's a place for people to go, and we can get them into services, whatever they need. And whether it's housing, whether it's recovery, that's what that place was built for and meant for. And I'm really kind of proud of it for this reason. We're the only one. There are no others, unless it's nonprofit. We're the only municipality that took that seriously enough to get something for people to come to. Now, with the governor doing it on a state level, which is needed, is going to be an even bigger game changer, because I prefaced this interview with that homelessness, unhoused, has no boundaries. So the city has been taking everybody in Southern Nevada. Now, we don't want to make it comfortable where they don't get into services and they don't, get on their feet. Or we need to find out, give them that mental health services or recovery services, whatever they need, so we can get them back on their feet and into housing and so forth. And so I'm really grateful for what the governor's do, because he's actually replicating exactly what we did from the Haven for Hope in San Antonio. I flew down with his delegation. I actually know that this is the place that the city flew down when they decided to build this in 2017. I've supported it in 2019. Doing the camping ban was a tool with the more teams to get people there and to get them off the street.
You mentioned a statistic, 3,700 people who have been referred to services since January out of the courtyard. My question is, how are those people doing now? Do you have a way to track to see if the referrals actually resulted in a positive benefit for the people that were referred?
So I'm sure we can go to Nevada Health and see if they have done that, or if our neighborhood services have done that. I haven't asked, but I can. For me, I think it was a game changer investing into the Nevada Health. I think we've invested into medical now, $26 million. And I also don't know if you know that we did the Recuperative Care Center. Not sure if you're familiar with that. But that was the other facility that we did, because you see a lot of these unhoused people end up in the hospital for wounds or sicknesses. And as you know, when we go into a hospital, as soon as they feel like they've done their job, they they put you out the front door. And what was happening to these unhoused people is as soon as their wounds or what have you were taken care of, they would just drop them out the front door. So what we've done is we take them and we put them in our recuperative care center that we have invested in and are spending a lot of money to make sure that they completely recover before they move on.
How many beds does the recuperative care center currently have?
The recuperative care center has 39 beds, but I do know that we are adding on to that.
Hi, David Plotz here. I'm the CEO of CityCast, and I want to talk to you about becoming a member of your local CityCast. By now, you've probably heard the team behind your local podcast talk about why you should become a member. But I want to tell you why I hope you'll consider becoming a member. We started CityCast because we believe cities are amazing and that they're at their best when they're full of passionate people who know what's going on and are actually engaged in them. But it's pretty hard to know what's going on in your city and how to be part of it and how to change it. That's why we bring you daily local podcasts and newsletters made by locals for locals that are informative and joyful and funny and completely unique to your city. But it takes a ton of effort and your support to keep us going. If this show has helped make you a better resident of your city, first of all, that is great. And second of all, please help make sure we can keep on making it. Become a member of your local CityCast at membership.citycast.fm. That's membership.citycast.fm. And thank you. Everyone on our team will see and appreciate your support.
This episode is brought to you by LifeLock. With Cybersecurity Awareness Month winding down, LifeLock wants to remind you to update your software. These updates will patch up security issues that identity thieves can exploit to gain access to your personal info. For comprehensive identity theft protection, there's LifeLock. LifeLock alerts you to more uses of your personal info and fixes issues that arise. Protect your identity today with a 30-day free trial at lifelock.com/podcast.
Councilwoman, in the city of Las Vegas, there is what has been celebrated as a successful conversion of an old motel on Fremont Street into supportive transitional housing. It's funded by Clark County in partnership with U.S. Vets, Help of Southern Nevada, and other agencies, but not the city of Las Vegas. In fact, some efforts by the county to put more or convert more housing in the city have, in fact, been rebuked. Would you be open to working with the county to convert more abandoned motels or to do it on your own following this county model?
Well, I think you have to understand that we have projects that we're putting so much money into without the county. I mean, there are projects I'm happy to look into, but our budget right now is going towards the Nevada Health, the medical, the recuperative care center, and the shelter itself. I mean, we have a lot of facilities and the more teams that we are funding through the city, and the county is doing their parts. And I really think that collaboratively, we're working on things that kind of work together and we're not being duplicative, which I think is very good. Like earlier, I talked about what Liberty Wellness was doing with the county in the proactive part in making sure that people that fall on hard times that have no addiction problems or mental health and are helping them. And that's a county project. They don't have a shelter. We have a shelter. So we're taking in people to the shelter. So as mayor, I would love to sit down and look and see what are we missing that we can do together. If they're doing this part and we're doing this part and it's very collaborative, I think it's a good thing.
Some of our questions today came from talking with various stakeholders. We talked with business owners and developers. We talked with people who work in the area. We even talked with people who have recently experienced homelessness. This next question comes from a former high-level government staffer who worked in the area of services. And here's the question. The Southern Nevada homeless continuum of care is crucial for securing those vital federal funds, and its success depends on effective regional collaboration. The city has been long criticized for not being effective in this space, as well as not sending people with the authority to act to these various meetings. what specific strategies will you implement to ensure that Las Vegas's representation at the continuum of care moving forward specifically is more effective and better at communication even with your own city council?
Well, without knowing exactly what meetings that you're talking about and which officials you're talking about, what I can say is I want us to have a seat at every table. We need to have a seat at every table. We need to be involved. We need to have a good relationship across every municipality. And the first step for me understanding that we could was when I brought them all together for the Animal Foundation. And so I believe that that the city needs to work with everyone else into making sure, again, that we're doing everything collaboratively that we can to make Southern Nevada, the greatest place to live. And number two, I think it's important because, again, I'll reiterate, we don't want to be duplicative. We cannot afford to put money into something we're already doing. We need to work together. So there isn't a seat that we will not have a table at when I'm mayor.
How familiar are you now with the Southern Nevada homelessness continuum of care process?
I'm very familiar with what is happening, but of course there's, it's never ending, the information that I can gather and the work that I can do. I'm a councilwoman right now and have done a lot of work without being the chair or the mayor. I haven't stepped on toes, but as mayor, I will have the opportunity to dig deep into everything and to make sure we're doing everything we can.
Next question. Both you and your opponent have indicated support for the so-called public camping ban, but the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department has come out indicating that they aren't interested in arresting people and that they would not be specifically enforcing it to arrest people because it distracts from finding long-lasting, holistic approaches meeting the specific needs of the individuals. If it's not popular with even the police and it arguably doesn't fix the underlying issues, why even have it on the books?
So the purpose of the camping ban was never to have police go out and arrest anyone. I am very much in support of the camping ban. I'm glad I voted for it, and I'm glad I will continue to enforce it. And the reason is this. The reason is we have no other opportunity to get people the services they need without it, number one. Number two, we have many businesses downtown that can no longer afford to have people camping out on their businesses. They were about to close. You can't encroach upon somebody else's rights for your rights. So I think it's important to understand that when you see the videos from businesses, bringing them to you with people that are completely unclothed and doing their business on people's garage spaces, driveways, and their businesses, we have to consider everything here. Nobody wants to arrest somebody who is down and out and has addiction problems and need mental health. I have a heart for it. Everybody knows someone who's suffered with this. The purpose is to get them into services. We cannot force them, but that gives us a great opportunity. And I have hope. I was the keynote speaker with Vegas Stronger when over 40 people graduated off the street from addiction.
And just so people who don't know what that is, Councilwoman, that's a nonprofit. Can you maybe give one line about what they are or who they are?
They're a nonprofit who go out. We've contracted with them because we've seen what they do and we've seen data of their results. So we recently contracted with, they go out in the street and they try to bring people in for services, for addiction, for mental health. Now, the biggest one that I've seen that is out there doing the work, Shine a Light, another nonprofit. Last year, they brought 400 people off the street into services. We can't do it alone, but we can do it with these nonprofits. And I went out in the tunnels for the second time about 3 weeks ago with Shine a Light. So I know who's living on the street and what what they're dealing with. These are people who are addicted to drugs or they have mental health issues. They're not people who are, I lost my job. Maybe there are a few who are on the street for a short time, but I explained to you there are services for them. These are people who aren't ready to give up the drugs or they have mental health. And you know what? If we can go out to them 10 times or 20 times and they will finally come in and do services, we're willing to do that. We're willing to continue to support our more teams and these people because it's important that we're there for them when they finally decide that they want to come off the addiction or they want to have help. And that's where my heart is at. It isn't in arresting people, but you cannot have businesses that put their life savings into it and have people camping out on their front doors. I come from LA. I've seen it. I won't go into businesses if they have encampments around them because there's health issues with all of that. Let me explain something. We had to turn the water fountains off in the parks in Ward 2, my ward in Summerlin. I was driving by one of my desert parks and there was a man bathing in the water fountain. And, this can be a health hazard. So what we have to do is we have to make sure that we're not causing other problems, but we're taking care of those who need help on the street. There's a balance, and we have to do that balance.
That balance is what I want to follow up with. We did talk to some small business owners who are very concerned about homelessness. They're wondering, they understand the big picture about trying to, reach those who are addicted or those who are suffering from mental illness, but they have very specific needs. And they wondered if there was any new tools for them that were being thought of or offered by the mayoral candidates that could help them with the issue of homeless people being in and around their spots, but also balancing and not being insensitive to the humanity of the people who are obviously in distress. So is there anything specific tools for businesses that haven't been mentioned yet other than, general or bigger approaches to homelessness that you could think of?
We have a new task force downtown that is proactive. It's POP, problem-oriented policing. And our new chief of public safety, Jason Potts, created this. Why? Because our businesses downtown came to us and said, look, besides the burglaries, robberies, the people camping out, they, again, put their life savings into their businesses and really didn't know how they were going to continue to function. So we've created this task force of 4 officers and 1 sergeant that just go out, these marshals that just go out and they're proactive and they're just present in the area. And once again, that is what they're tasked to do. So if they run into the homeless, they're not there to arrest them. They're there to say, you can't camp out at this business, but we have a corridor of hope. We have the Nevada Health Services. Can we get you into any services? Now, they don't have to. We can't force people. This is what people don't understand. We can't force people to take services. We can't force people to get off the street. But what we can do is not encroach upon our businesses and different things like that. But I think that is a tool where they have a presence and they can be there to offer those services. But once again, we're not here. What good does this do to arrest someone that is on the street and put them in a jail? It doesn't help anything or anyone. But the tool is when they go in front of a judge, they can say, look, we can get you recovery services. This is a tool that we use to say we can get you into recovery. And some people take it and some people don't.
On that, some people don't take it or some people aren't convinced. You can't force people, as you say, to take services, but is there a different approach that hasn't been thought of yet to maybe make the services more attractive or incentivize people to take advantage of those services? Because I think...
Absolutely. I think there is, and we're going to find that.
What have we been doing, and what plans do you have as mayor to do that?
I have a plan to sit down and find out what else we can do. I would like to do it with our professionals to see what would attract people better to get into recovery. I would like to sit with our nonprofits. I think we need to find other solutions. But what I can tell you is I'm very proud of the work that our nonprofits are doing. I'm very proud of what the MORE teams are doing, because everybody, I believe that we have taken the approach, as Metro has, as our marshals have, that we really want to help people. It isn't about arresting our way out of it. And if you listen to some of the solutions that we are coming up with, you can tell that all these people are being proactive. They have a heart, and it's about humanity. As you know, Kevin McMahill, inject humanity. And I think that has trickled down to the marshals and everyone else, where we all understand this didn't happen 30, 40 years ago. You know, there was so much stigma around it. But now we understand the problems. And so that's why we're trying to get the best solutions. And I think we've done a good job so far. Can we do better? Absolutely. We can do a lot better. And we're going to do that.
Councilwoman Victoria Seaman, candidate for Las Vegas mayor, thank you again for coming back and talking about this important issue of homelessness on CityCast Las Vegas.
Thank you so much.
And a quick reminder that our fall campaign is underway. Become a CityCast Las Vegas member, and not only will you get all the good feels and the great perks, but if you join during the campaign, you'll also receive an exclusive CityCast Las Vegas tote bag. Just head on over to membership.citycast.fm right now to join. And if you're already a member, thank you. We could not do this work without you. That's all for today here on CityCast Las Vegas. If you enjoyed the show, why not tell a friend? You can rate the show, leave us a review, and subscribe to our morning newsletter. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. Till then, stay lucky.